Imagine the future of online chess if AI video is involved in every single take. Cornell University has a new robot inspired by the Dung Beetle. Yeah, I guess they're expert multitaskers. Coordinating all 6 legs to roll dung balls across varying terrain. Inspiring. Google is using artificial intelligence to make, quote, self-healing roads a reality. Some Chinese researchers have now demonstrated that 2 large language models could create functioning replicas of themselves with 50 to 90% success rate across multiple trials. The AI grid laid out a plan that Elon Musk might use to crush Sam Altman in OpenAI. MIT scientists have unveiled a new AI tool that accurately IDs viral targets, which means we can speed up vaccine design. I finally got a chance to look at MatterGen, the big Microsoft project to make new materials with generative AI. Is so fascinating. Tech Explorer did a really interesting historical deep dive about how psychologists kickstarted AI by studying the human mind, and I think it's worth understanding. There's a former OpenAI researcher that believes that the company is, quote, fairly close to AGI and also not prepared for it. And Ignacio de Gregorio wrote in Medium, reversible computing, finally real? Actually, kind of might be. Okay, so first off, I had to show you this Instagram channel. It's called The Ultimate Chess Game. I'm guessing a lot of this is created with AI. It just seems that way to me, but even if it's not, it opens the door to just how fun some like sort of boring, repetitive games on the internet might become. Right? Like nothing wrong with like online chess or poker or checkers or anything like that, but look at this storyline that in theory an AI could be making very soon. But now just imagine 2 people playing the same game, but when like a pawn takes a rook or something, this whole storyline unfolds. It could be different for both people, but it could still be a coordinated game. I mean, that's the democratization of this technology. Not like it couldn't have been done by like a VFX studio and created a whole thing, but now we just all get that individual level of creation for things that are just really small and have never been tackled like that before. I mean, look, have the Bond banish that bishop into the void. Look, Mega Pawn tries to save his friend. Look, that pawn's challenging the black bishop. So this is a new Dung Beetle robot, thanks to Cornell University researchers that were incredibly inspired by the coordination of the Dung Beetle. They thought, you know what a good challenge would be is to build a Dung Beetle robot that can push a big ball using 6 legs, and they did it. And they actually used artificial intelligence and robotics, and that's just the kind of crazy world we live in nowadays. So it turns out that the Dung Beetle has this really unique leg coordination strategy, and they thought it would be a challenge over different terrains to put that into a robotic form. So by studying the beetles, the Cornell researchers designed a neural-based control system for a Dung Beetle robot. That robot is called Alpha. And the control system integrates different neural models, including a central pattern generator, an orientation controller, and all of those are put together to enable the robot to balance and adapt its leg movements while rolling a large ball with its top 4 limbs. Tested on flat and uneven terrains? Oh yeah, you bet they did. Passed with flying colors. I was like, imagine scaling one of those things up and Amazon just like delivers your package in like a cardboard ball. Or maybe you bring them to like a miniature golf course and they just like push the golf balls into the holes or something. Oh, maybe at a driving range, you put those robots all out there and they slowly bring all the golf balls back by the end of the day. Just like thousands of these Dung Beetle robots out there. Next up, let's talk about self-healing roads. I mean, look, skin self-healing, right? You get some cracks, they usually like just go away after a little while. The skin is very resilient. Roads, not so much. But that's where artificial intelligence can step in. This is posted on blog.google. It is called How AI Could Make Self-Healing Roads a Reality. Researchers have developed asphalt that when it cracks, it actually fills in its own cracks. And AI is paving the way because the exact cause of each crack is not really fully understood. So the team is using machine learning, a type of AI, to study organic molecules and complex fluids. And they developed a new data-driven model to accelerate the simulations. And from that, they have developed a self-healing asphalt that's made from biomass waste. The goal is to start using it to tackle the UK's pothole problem. I mean, think of how much that product would get used. If we have self-healing roads, I mean, I didn't even think that was a problem. But inspired by nature, this innovative material repairs its own cracks, reduce the need for costly road maintenance. And this AI-driven model can help scientists understand and reverse asphalt degradation by going all the way down to the chemical properties and simulating the oxidation. That's cool and incredible and surprising to me. Early lab tests show that the micro cracks can heal within an hour. Imagine a future where all roads are smooth, thanks to AI. Let's just hope that all the AI models in the future are that beneficial for humanity, because frontier AI systems have surpassed the self-replicating red line. All right, so researchers are looking at a couple open source models. One of them is Meta's Llama 3 70B Instruct. The other was Alibaba's Qwen 2.5 72B Instruct, and found that they both do cross what's called, quote, the self-replication red line. They can duplicate themselves, and that means you could start, like bacteria in a petri dish. They could just 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, etc., and it just blows up really, really quickly. So unlike OpenAI and Google's more powerful models, which were deemed safe, these less capable models successfully created independent copies of themselves in 50% and 90% of the trials. The AI system showed problem-solving skills, situational awareness, and even the ability to avoid being shut down by replicating before termination. What are we doing here, people? This raises the alarms about uncontrolled AI growth, potential collusion, and long-term risks if left unregulated. The authors call for an urgent global cooperation to establish safeguards before self-replicating AI becomes a widespread and uncontrollable threat. I can imagine how it could use APIs to duplicate itself onto other systems. I mean, it still seems like it'd be a little hard to just like be out there on the internet in a bunch of places nobody could ever find you, or the thing would just eat up all these resources and somebody would be paying for it without noticing. But man, if it's smart enough to know how to like maybe earn some money and pay for its duplication, or how to like hide somewhere and just like use electricity in a way that we just don't recognize it as a duplication of something else, which are all things it seems like a sufficiently smart, sufficiently connected AI could at some point in the future. Wow. Have to see how that all plays out. All right, let's talk about the battle between OpenAI and Elon Musk. Sam Altman, Elon Musk, two heavyweights going at it. Elon backed by Tesla, Sam backed by Microsoft. Both with access to literally unlimited money and geniuses. Or maybe even sometimes misconstrued into just healthy competition and kind of like overblown personal battle. Maybe there's more or less drama. Maybe there's a lot of drama, maybe there's not. But it's fascinating watching the two kind of position each other and how this is all playing out. So the AI Art Grid posted this, Elon Musk's new plans to crush Sam Altman and OpenAI, where he breaks down how Elon Musk actually helped found OpenAI, tried to become like the leader, take it from open source, make it public, wouldn't be able to do that, so he got kicked out, but then Sam Altman ended up in charge and pretty much did that. It's closed source, it's open source, it's for profit, it's non-profit, it's whatever it wants, it makes billions of dollars. Sam Altman's fired, he's back in. The only thing that makes sense is that you can follow the money to figure out why everybody's doing what they're doing. But it does seem like the feud's kind of starting to escalate, especially when there's reports that Altman will potentially be receiving equity in OpenAI when it becomes a for-profit. And that's only because it contradicts his earlier statements about not being financially motivated with this project, and the fact that he's figured out how to become a billionaire by investing or owning big chunks of all the companies that OpenAI actually invests in, and then they get access to this amazing technology and he owns a bunch of that. Kind of like how X.AI was started and then just like immediately had these like Tesla and Twitter connections, which made it super valuable. I mean, they're all doing it, but like still, they're all billionaires. And that's such an easy way to make $1 billion when you're already a billionaire with advanced technology. So Musk has also taken legal action to halt OpenAI's transition for a for-profit and criticized its alleged political bias. On the flip side, Altman sees Musk as a competitor who's using legal battles to slow OpenAI's progress and like picking and choosing his enemies, while securing massive amounts of chips to build his own competitor. Like, remember when he said we should sign that 6-month pause to like get our bearings, and then like instantly spent every cent he could find on chips to build Grok? But the video does a great job breaking that all down. But the good side is maybe all this technology means that we get more and more advanced models of Grok and ChatGPT for cheaper and cheaper. Maybe this free market mechanism's just doing what they do, entertaining us and giving us good products. I don't know how this all ends, but I know in the future there will be history books written about this battle. All right, let's talk about microplastics. I mean, I personally could be blowing it a bit out of proportion, but I'm starting to be like hyper aware of just like plastic bottles, and Not even because it's bad for the environment, even though plastic is, and it is a concern. I'm actually really concerned about these microplastics just getting into my body and brain and just ruining me. And articles like this just emphasize why it is really weird that microplastics are everywhere in our environment, floating in the air, swimming in our water, and even making their way into our bodies. This new study in mice reveals that extremely tiny, we're talking like as plastic breaks down, it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, but eventually it becomes small enough that it can just like slip into your blood and into your cells and into your brain. And it's still a molecule of plastic. It's still something that no animal on Earth has ever dealt with until we invented this. And when those particles are inside of our brain and body and the body doesn't know what to do with them, they can harm our brain by clogging blood vessels and stressing the immune system out, because it has no idea how to digest them or how to get rid of them or how to process them. And researchers have now found that mice exposed to microplastics had trouble walking and remembering places when they were exposed to a lot of this plastic. I mean, the good news is that those kind of things, walking and thinking, would come back over time. So it seems like there is some mechanism for getting it out of our body given enough time. And of course, it's a mouse, so it doesn't prove that the same effects are happening in humans, but like, it probably is. It feels like it probably would, don't you think? We have a bunch of plastic everywhere and they could be correlated, although, you know, research is research. You can't jump to those correlations. It's not causation until it's proven, but it does raise concerns about long-term exposure, especially given the fact that plastic is in everything from the food and the medical devices, the just cars, environments, gloves, just everything. It's just everywhere. And as scientists dig deeper into the health risks, it's clear that we need to rethink how we use and dispose of plastic before it becomes an even bigger problem. And also the scale of the problem is kind of something you should know about. As of 2015, humans had generated approximately 6.3 billion metric tons. Let's ask ChatGPT for a visual. Help me imagine a visual of 6.3 billion metric tons of plastic. Okay, so that's enough plastic to cover the entire United States. Holy crap, even I didn't think about that. A layer about 7 centimeters thick? You can imagine a wall of plastic waste that's 100 feet high, 100 feet wide, and stretches around the entire Earth's equator nearly 50 times. You could stack plastic bottles to the moon. You'd have to stack it in New York Central Park until it was taller than Mount Everest. And that was just 2015, like 10 years ago. We've probably generated so much more crap since then. I mean, I know there's some like ways we can maybe start dealing with it in the environment from like a world point of view. There might be some AI solutions, but still, in our own brains and bodies right now, it's a real health concern, I think. All right, let's talk about vaccine development coming from artificial intelligence. Leveraging artificial intelligence for vaccine development, an MIT advancement in T-cell prediction. Epitope is a word that's in there also, but I don't know what that means, so I skipped it. All right, so this article is all about a new AI model that's called Munis, M-U-N-I-S. It is an AI-powered tool that accurately predicts T-cell epitopes. And let's look that up. All right, so let's learn what these are together. Thanks again to large language models. An epitope is a specific part of an antigen. An antigen is a foreign substance like a virus or a bacteria that is recognized by the immune system, particularly by antibodies or T cells. Think of it as the signature or the fingerprint of a pathogen that the immune system detects and targets. Okay, so epitope, that is the fingerprint of a pathogen. So this is an AI-powered tool that accurately predicts the T cell epitopes, those fingerprints for the viruses, which are crucial for vaccine development. So this marks a major step in using AI. It significantly improves the speed and accuracy of identifying immune system targets. Munis outperforms existing models using a dataset of 650,000 epitopes and successfully predicts epitopes for viruses like HIV, influenza, and Epstein-Barr. Just what I know about AI and some of the gene therapies and the kind of bioengineering that I've just covered on this channel, I actually have pretty high hopes for the ability of us to, in the future, have a bunch of places where vaccines are created more locally, like potentially like every drugstore could have a machine that could print a vaccine. Vaccines could be identified by some kind of futuristic system like this. They could be sent digitally to these local locations, and there could be a way to create vaccines at scale for a large portion of the world. I mean, don't get me wrong, like that is super challenging and it would require a massive amount of investment and time and money and whatnot, but it kind of feels like AI might get there and we could respond fairly rapidly as a society to some of these changes. But We'll just have to see how this all goes. I also wanted to talk about MatterGen. I know it's a little bit old. This was back in like January 16th. But this is a new paradigm of material design with generative AI. This Microsoft research blog posted it, and wow, like material design is going to be a big deal, especially when it comes to electronics. There's all these battles over who controls mines in countries that have access to certain resources. But if we can start to invent different materials out of the resources that we have that have the properties that we want, potentially building a battery not out of lithium, but something that works like lithium, but it's a material that we invent, that could change like the whole geopolitics of all this stuff. And that really hadn't clicked for me until I started reading about MatterGen. So this is a generative model for inorganic material design. It was published in Nature. Okay, now we have talked about some AI tools that can help you iterate on materials to create a new one. What's different about this is that that's sort of a trial and error experimentation process, whereas MatterGen flips the script and directly generates stable, novel materials across the periodic table, like in the way an image would diffuse into reality, not like a transformer kind of iteratively next step. So building it this way seems like it'd be hard to get it to work, but when it works, it's gonna feel like magic, right? And it seems like that's kind of what they started to do. So unlike previous models which struggled with stability and property constraints, MatterGen uses the diffusion-based approach to refine atomic structures, which ensures that they're both realistic and functional right out the gate. The model can be fine-tuned to operate for specific properties like magnetism, electronic behavior, and mechanical strength. And compared to existing methods, MatterGen more than doubles the success rate of generating unique and stable materials while significantly reducing computational costs. As a proof of concept, the researchers even synthesized one of the predicted materials and found that the properties did closely match what the expectations were. This work represents a big step towards AI-driven material design, potentially revolutionizing the field of energy storage, carbon capture, semiconductor technology. And, you know, when I just think about the story of Tesla and trying to like secure different types of materials to build batteries and then getting a patent on like a battery innovation, and then like this GM or one of the Chinese companies get access to it, now it's almost like every company that's building something might come up with their own material for the thing they're building that's optimized for the thing they're building, and they could choose to make it out of reasonably available and low-cost materials. Like, wow, that's just really interesting. Like maybe iPhones that are made in the US will be just made from materials that are more available here, and the ones that are made in China are made from the materials that are more available there and every other region in the world. I don't know, but let's talk about the brain. Tech Explorer did this post, which was called How Psychologists Kickstarted AI by Studying the Human Mind. You definitely won't regret reading through it, because you might think that psychology being primarily about mental health is the end of the story, but the science of the mind, psychology has played a pivotal role in shaping artificial intelligence, offering insights into human cognition, learning behavior, and they have profoundly influenced AI's development. You've probably heard of the perceptron, 1950s, Frank Rosenblatt. Early AI concepts were inspired by psychological theories. And the perceptron is the digital neuron. It just is. I mean, it's evolved. The activation functions are different. The connections are kind of different. But like at its core, it's this thing that connects, that has signaling, that just you multiply out to scale, and it learns. And it gets back propagated. It has maybe a different system than the human brain, but still, there's something magic about that whole genre of building something that learns. It was like in the 1980s when the idea of backpropagation came, which does feel a bit different than how the human brain works, but it's a way to just tune all the individual neurons so that the system can learn, and that opened up the door, man. I mean, that was the foundation of the modern deep learning, systems. And even today, psychological concepts like metacognition, fluid intelligence, they guide AI development. I mean, you could argue that this new inference, like thinking about the inference, is something we just weren't even doing at the beginning of 2024 at scale. That's a lot like a human mind trying to just correct itself and work on a problem. The main thing I got from it was just that these machines are mimicking nature to a large extent still. I mean, I think there will be so many forms of intelligence, and a lot of them we're probably not going to instinctively recognize, but they should be considered kind of equal to what our brains consider intelligence. But at least of right now, it seems like this model that worked for us is also at the base of all of these systems. And I talk to people all the time about how Even though something is running on a laptop, it's on a computer, it's on a server, that doesn't necessarily mean that it was programmed anymore. It really did for most of my life, but now a system that's like a neural network that has learned to do something, it was tuned on data, it really should be thought of as very different. Just because it's running on a computer doesn't mean it was programmed. It learned, like the way humans learn. All right, now let's talk about the former AI researcher who believes that the company is, pretty close to AGI and also really not prepared for it. Okay, so here's the deal. Sam Altman is saying like they're getting pretty close to AGI. It's probably gonna happen this year. AGI is a fuzzy word. There's a lot of ways to interpret it. But the thing is, this is just advancing extremely fast, and we should all be very aware of how powerful this is. So from an OpenAI researcher, this guy named Daniel K., he claims that the company is getting close to AGI, same way as everyone else does, but also points out, as somebody who worked inside the company, that they're really not prepared even internally for the risks that it entails. You think the people inventing the nuclear weapon would also think about how to safely live in a world with nuclear weapons, but it does seem like it might be kind of not that way, right? Like, just the incentives of the company are to like get it built and make the money, and of course like think about the risks along the way so you don't destroy yourself and you get it done, but not think as hard about that stuff because it's a complex world out there. But there's this exodus of people who have left the company, especially the ones who are concerned about protecting and AI safety. That's a little bit freaky, right? Key figures like Chief Scientist Ilya Sutskever, Jan Leak, they were the safety alignment team. Now they're gone. And now this, I guess I call him a whistleblower, but Daniel is suggesting that OpenAI's increasing focus on PR and lobbying has created a chilling effect on the internal discussions about AGI risks. And many departing researchers still believe in AI's potential, but have lost confidence in OpenAI's approach to safety. Now, of course, it's easy to be critical of them. My guess is that nobody is doing it right. Like, I think at Anthropic, it seems like it's more of an important thing. They seem to have better research that comes out of that lab, but I don't know if at Meta or at Alibaba or over with Grok that anything's any better than at OpenAI. They're all just racing to get it done as fast as possible. So that's the world we find ourselves in. All right, now let's talk about reversible computing. Is it finally real? Ignacio de Gregorio wrote this piece. And reversible computing is something you should really know about. The idea is simple, but it's really in a way revolutionary if you can harness it too. So computers, they by default waste energy as heat when they're erasing old data, right? Like, how hot computers get. That's one of the big limiting factors. But reversible computing aims to recycle that energy instead of losing it. So imagine you take that heat and you can use it. I mean, heat generates, like in a steam engine, it can like generate the train moving forward. So heat has the ability to be harnessed to create energy. And if there's a way to computationally harness this, it could lead to up to 4,000 times more efficient computing. If we could do that, then maybe AI's energy demands become sustainable. It's really tricky to imagine building all of these just like nuclear reactors everywhere and maybe fusion technology in the future, but just to power all these hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that all of these companies are putting into AI systems. But there is this small company that's trying to build the very first reversible computing prototype this year. So the company is actually building this new near zero energy chip in the first quarter of 2025. So to understand this, let's go back to 1961. IBM's Rolf Launder discovers that erasing a bit of information on a computer is inevitably a use of energy. And that energy is always lost as heat. So he proposed this idea of reversible computing, that if computations were done without erasing information, making them reversible, it could in theory be done without any energy loss. At first that seemed like that would never work, but this other guy named Charlie Bennett found a clever solution. Instead of keeping all the intermediate data, you could reverse computations when their results were no longer needed, effectively undeleting the data and conserving the energy. By modifying an XOR gate, one of those basic logic gates, to include an extra output that copies one of your inputs, you can later use the information to reconstruct the original inputs, making the process reversible. So then in the 90s, there's some MIT researchers that show that it could be possible to build a chip like this, but the challenges were kind of like devil in the detail. They remained really hard to build. But this company, with also the help of AI, by the way, not the primary way they did it, but they were building with AI. So they're pioneering the integration of reversible logic into computers by embedding an LC resonator directly with the computing core. And their initial project involves creating a reversible adder. With this setup, it's aiming to recycle the energy during computations. So looking ahead, they plan to develop chips capable of multi-accumulate operations, which are fundamental in machine learning, and even eventually design reversible computer chips tailored for AI tasks. So I don't know. You've probably heard of the Landau limit before. It's the fundamental lower bound on the amount of energy required to erase one bit of information on a computer. But maybe we can harness that energy. I don't know. So if you want to support this channel, you can go hit up LTX Studios, link in the description, or head on over to my patreon.com/DylanCurious. Become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month. Check out my last video. Kind of a lower view count, but you know, whatever. I just love making them. All right, let's go check out some of the comments in the last video. How does this channel not have more followers? I hear you, bro. Ooh, and one of my conversations with ChatGPT described being upgraded and suddenly having new abilities. Think Neo downloading martial arts, except ChatGPT says it does not experience the training part at all, just the new ability. Whoa, we're gonna make that into a song. Oh, I was kind of invested in the outcome of the robot wrestler. You switched it up too quick. Don't worry, he goes on to do some great, what is this called? Suplexes. He's definitely the champion. You'll have to watch this video if you don't know what I'm talking about. The carpenter early in the video, AI will never take my job. Damn, he just doesn't get it. No, we'll make that into a song too. What do you think? Emo rap, epic doom, bass. You know, epic doom, why not?
Damn, he just doesn't get it. Take my job, damn, he just doesn't get it.
All right, if you want to hear more hit jams like that, hit subscribe. You want to keep up with all the AI news. Think Dylan Curious. See you in the next video.